Welcome to the Halliwell Manor. I'm Max.
And I'm Tina.
And we are here to discuss Season 6, Episode 19 of Charmed.
Crimes and Witch-Demeanors.
Okay.
You know what? I said that mockingly. That's one of their better titles.
I honestly kind of love this episode, which is so weird because...
It's a clip show.
It's a clip... Well, it's...
It can't commit to being a clip show.
Yeah, that's the thing. It starts being a clip show really far into the episode.
And there's only like 3 clips.
And there's only like 3 clips. It's so weird. Because, you know, it's a trial episode, so that's usually when you do clip shows. But it's barely a clip show.
It is everything I love to hate about Charmed, is how I will put it. Like, there are some episodes where I'm like, this episode is genuinely good. Like, oh my gosh, this is genuinely good, heartfelt, I feel it. This episode, I was just screaming at the TV, basically, the whole time we were watching it.
Okay, so the premise of this episode is that, you know, good and evil put the Charmed ones on trial for how, let's say, laissez-faire they've been about the whole magic thing and exposure and such. And the thing is, that's a really good point. The Charmed ones have been really shitty about concealing magic, but they don't make... Barbas is the prosecutor, and he makes no good points. It's all just weird shit and negging them about Cole.
Okay, so since I'm going to bring up my broad point about this episode before we get into the recap.
Also, it's a Barbas episode, which, fantastic.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's great. I'm always happy to see Barbas. I'm sorry, I was going to try to make a fear pun. I don't know. Whatever. I'm just glad he's there. But what I was going to say is, this episode, at a lot of points, feels like the most frustrating part of arguing with a reply guy online.
Yeah, like...
But I also, like, I love to hate it. It's like there's this guy on TikTok, R.I.P. TikTok, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. There's this guy on TikTok who does these videos that are like POV, you're dating a traditional man, or like POV, you're talking to a boomer who doesn't realize other people exist, things like that. And it's so horrifying to watch them, and I can't look away. Like, and everybody feels that way. You look at the comments, and people will be commenting, like, it's just a skit. It's just a skit. It's just a skit. I think his name is Jack Ryan. I want to, like, call him out, because I do really enjoy his TikToks. R.I.P. Anyway, my point is moving the goalposts. That's where I was going with this.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
It's constant with Barbas in this.
But here's the deal, right? Good and evil have decided that hiding magic is important enough that good and evil have come together and decided on this point they're going to work together. Which, first of all, one, calling bullshit, because demons don't try to hide shit ever. So, no. And two, okay, I get it, right? You have a court made up of half demons and half elders who are trying the Charmed ones for not properly hiding magic. But then Barbas is like, hey, maybe the Charmed ones shouldn't even exist. And it's like, okay, whoa. You can't have a trial of half good people and half evil arguing that the Charmed ones shouldn't exist. At that point, you have gone beyond your jurisdiction.
Okay, I just want to put this out there. I think demons were really good at the whole concealing magic thing until the source was killed.
Ooh, interesting.
Because the underworld has been massively disorganized since that happened. We don't think about it a lot because, you know, Charmed is a very Monster of the Week show. And, you know, and the source was having trouble keeping things under his control for, like, season 3 and 4, honestly. It was a struggle for him to maintain order in the underworld. So, like, I feel like there's a reason we don't get the demons that kill people who are about to find out about demons anymore. Like, they blew up all the upper-level demons. The upper-level demons we see in this episode are just whatever scrubs are around who didn't get blown up during the Sears baby absorption gone wrong.
I'm sure I've brought this up before, but there's this thing in Stargate where when they start killing the big bads, it's like, oh, when you kill the big bad, there's a power vacuum and an even worse guy takes his place. And you know what? Respect to Charmed for being like, man, these demons have been incompetent since we started killing all the bad ones.
I mean, I'm very excited to talk about the last season. It's so bad, but it's bad in such an interesting way. One of my favorite things about it is that the demons have this plan to get Paige, and the best case scenario they have is that the plan will inconvenience her. Like, we're not trying to kill the Charmed Ones anymore. We're aware of what the situation is. Our best case scenario is fucking up Paige's day.
I'm just going to throw this out there before we get to the last season.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much Billy hate out there. You know what? I'm pro Billy. This is a pro Billy podcast.
Okay.
I mean, I say that now. We'll see how it shakes out when we actually start watching it.
I mean, a lot of Billy's character is sort of like, oh my god, she fights demons, but she's a girl, which is sort of a weird card to play when this is Charmed, and that's been the premise since the first episode.
Oh, okay. My memory of it is, oh my god, she fights demons, but she doesn't have any power.
No, she does. She's telekinetic.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe this won't be a pro Billy podcast. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, she actually takes demon fighting seriously, which is fun.
Yeah, it'll be really exciting to have somebody who actually cares about fighting evil.
Although, there's this thing that I'm assuming the director did it or someone. Kaylee Cuoco is constantly standing with one hip jutted to the side and her thumbs down the front of her jeans. And I noticed it once. And
As was the style at the time.
As was the style at the time. But I noticed it, and then I couldn't not notice that she is constantly standing at an angle with her fingers shoved down her pants.
No, it really was. So that was like the Britney Spears pop star stance. She was standing like a pop star. Totally unrelated revelation I just had.
Mm.
I just read a book where at one point a character walks down to the basement and discovers the dead body that her boyfriend has killed. And I just realized that in my head, because I grew up in Florida where there are no basements, all basements, when I picture them, I picture the basement in Halliwell Manor.
I mean, honestly, it's not a bad point of reference for basements. So, we should actually get into this episode. Okay, although before we do, this is technically into the episode.
Okay.
Phoebe and Paige pull up to a ongoing crime scene in Phoebe's Mini Cooper.
Yeah.
I want to point out that this has kind of replaced the black SUV as the iconic Charmed One's vehicle. I'm assuming there's a product placement thing going on.
Oh, almost certainly.
I mean, definitely for this, but also they kind of have a rotating thing with cars later. Like, the black SUV was this kind of very understated, iconic part of the show early on. And you'd think I would know what kind of SUV it was, but I'm emphatically not a car guy. But this is sort of, we're into the area, I don't know, I don't want to call it subtle product placement, but I guess I kind of appreciate that cars are just something you can very naturally have in a scene as a product placement thing, and it doesn't immediately take you out of it like Ghosts does with Amazon.
Oh my god. They get excited about Amazon Prime on the TV show Ghosts so much.
And it's one of those things that it doesn't click for you until you see it, and then you're like, wow, they talk about how amazing Amazon is constantly in this show.
I mean, they even have an Alexa as a plot point in one episode.
Yeah, and the Amazon delivery guy's always there, and it's always like center of the frame, you see the logo. I like Ghosts. Amazon is a evil company because, you know, of course it is. Although I've been noticing them being less competent than they used to be. Like, a lot of this stuff on their site is more fraudulent-y than it used to be. I don't know if you've noticed that. Like, when you're looking for stuff, you get a lot more, you know, Wish style.
I just think everything is becoming worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charmed. So, Phoebe and Paige have arrived to a crime scene with Daryl. I think we have to talk about
what Phoebe's wearing.
Yeah, Phoebe Phoebe is wearing a bright...
Raspberry beret.
Yes, a bright pink beret. She's got a bright pink shirt matching it. It's not her worst look. It's just very not demon fighty.
Well,
Although
no.
she is rushing through this so she can get to a date.
But it's not sneaking. They're sneaking around, and she's wearing a bright pink beret. Here's the thing about hats, Max. You can take them off easily. Why is she wearing a bright pink hat while she's trying to hide from demons?
So they're helping Daryl with... There's a serial killer or something.
It's a robbery that Phoebe had a premonition about.
Yeah, the robber guy is going to kill a bunch of people. He's possessed by a demon. But don't worry, he was evil because these kind of demons can only possess people who are already evil.
Put a pin in that.
Yes, put a pin in that. And Daryl's like, wow, you guys seem unusually focused. And Paige is like, oh, she's got a date she wants to get to. So
Paige also says that Phoebe forced this premonition, which is interesting.
Which is something she used to be able to do in season 1. Like, she could cause herself to have premonitions, and then they kind of dropped it. But now it's being portrayed... They finally brought it back, but now it's being portrayed as her doing something wrong.
Okay, before, when she made herself have a premonition, it would be by, like, focusing on things or finding something related to the person that they were, looking for, something like that. She would try to get a premonition. Based on what happens later in this episode, I assume that she's forcing premonitions with potions.
Yeah, but I mean, like, she could do stuff like... You remember the one where she was a hotel psychic and
Yes,
she was
of course.
just having premonitions all willy-nilly, just, yes, by touching and focusing. Or in the... I said the hotel psychic one, and then I was going to say, or the episode with the John Cho ghost. It's the same episode. But she could, like, hold on her premonitions. Phoebe used to do cool stuff.
I know you hate magic as a metaphor for addiction.
Yes.
But I would say that the equivalent of what's happening here is she's gone from being into fitness to, like, using too much steroids.
Okay, see, the thing I would use for this is that she's gone from writing her column to using ChatGPT to write her column.
Except that this premonition is true.
Well, yes. Based off of her own writing and or what have you.
I just had to throw
It's not a perfect
I
metaphor.
just had to throw some shade at ChatGPT.
How many...
I feel like enough people don't understand that it's just predictive text.
Yeah, I keep seeing all of this stuff. I didn't think it was that common, but apparently so many people... I don't get it. Like... Especially if you're a college student, I don't understand what...
Use the predictive text in your phone, right? And type in, I am at, and then see what the predictive text says. And if it doesn't say where you are, that's how much you should trust ChatGPT, right?
I mean, I don't know. Phones spy on you a lot now. It could just be...
You know what? I'm going to do it right now. All right, hang on. I'm gonna text you, right? Like, literally, this is happening!
You know, this might actually work out, though, because, we're at home.
God damn it.
Yeah. If we were in a different location than something we normally text to one another, that would probably work better. But, yeah.
Yeah, it was I'm at the house now. Well, I mean, in fairness, that's usually true.
So... Daryl and the sisters are sneaking up on this guy who's breaking into this alley warehouse. I guess it's good for Daryl that they're not going to kill the human guy, just the demon. Because so many of, as becomes important in this episode, so many of the suspects in his case wind up dead or mysteriously vanishing. It is pretty sus.
Yeah.
Also, this is really similar to the whole guardian demon thing that we saw at the beginning of season 1, but they're like... It's similar, but they don't kill them the same way, and it's like kind of different enough where I guess this is its own separate thing. It feels weird to do something that's so in the neighborhood of something they'd done before, but switch it up like that.
Yeah. Anyway, this type of demon is called a phantasm.
I appreciate the effort they put in on this thing. Like, they do an effect, and it has, like, makeup and stuff. It looks like a, I don't know, ghost banshee or something.
Yeah, I mean, the demon looks good.
Daryl shoots the guy.
Daryl shoots the guy, but it's okay because he was already bad.
Well, it's in self-defense. That's the thing. The guy notices Daryl and immediately whips out his gun and starts shooting at him, and Daryl, like, Phoebe pushes Daryl out of the way, and then Daryl shoots the guy. And then the demon comes out of the guy's corpse, and the sisters suck it into a wand, which Phoebe makes Paige hold.
Okay, Rose McGowan does not want to be there. She is holding that wand with the least amount of enthusiasm I've ever seen.
Okay, it sounds bad.
Water?
It sounds bad, yes. But I kind of love when Rose McGowan is on not give a shit mode, because normally she kind of tries the hardest out of the three leads. Again, Holly Marie Combs kind of dips in and out. She's pregnant. It's fine. I get her not wanting to put all of her energy into this. She is literally gestating life. Mm-hmm. But, like, usually Rose McGowan is at least kind of trying, which makes it more fun when it's, like, she...
reading Rose McGowan's memoir and learning that she basically was just doing Charmed because she needed the health insurance. And I love her even more. Like, it made me love Rose McGowan even more. She has no fucks left to give.
It also kind of works with the whole Paige being an asshole thing they've been doing for the past couple of episodes for no reason.
Mm-hmm. Can I just note the awkward thing here that this whole episode is based around us defending a cop killing a suspect?
Okay, we'll get into it more at the trial, but this show has a weird relationship with law enforcement.
Well, because the villain is also a cop here.
Yeah.
But the villain, okay, they don't call it that.
But I mean, it's that weird thing where Internal Investigations is always the bad guy in cop shows. Mm-hmm. Like, I've been watching some SVU, which I used to watch a lot of back in the day, Law and Order. Although they have Peacock has regular Law and Order, although they don't have the Jerry Orbach seasons. But there's a whole thing with the way the show gets you to root for Elliot Stabler, Chris Milan. You know.
I know who you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. They get you to root for him going nuts on people, which is really easy because, you know, the bad guys in SVU tend to be pedophiles or whatever. And then it's bad when, you know, Internal Investigations shows up and they're like, hey, maybe you should stop throwing dudes off buildings or, like, drowning people. And you're like, no, Elliot needs to drown those people. Otherwise, they're not going to find missing children. Like, it's weird because it's obviously propaganda. Uh-huh. But, like, it's kind of really well done propaganda in a way that I feel like most isn't anymore.
I mean, isn't that worse?
No, I mean, it is worse, but it also kind of, I mean, I guess that's all propaganda. I mean, kind of puts forth that the cops are way more active than they actually are, but, you know.
So your background show has been Law and Order SVU.
Very briefly. The guy who played Dave in Happy Endings was in an episode, and it was the funniest thing ever. It's always amazing because you see people who become famous for very much not Law and Order things. But, I'm sorry, go on.
My background show has been Elementary. And one of the things I really like about Elementary is that they violate due process all the time, and they get called out on it all the time. And there's even one point where somebody's complaining about internal affairs, and Sherlock is like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to have to follow the rules, but internal affairs needs to exist. There's lots of corruption that needs to be put in check.
We've also been watching Elsbeth. These are Elementary and SVU are our solo shows. Elsbeth has been our duo show, and besides it being basically Columbo, which, you know, I never really saw Columbo, but maybe I should check it out.
I mean, you liked this, you liked Poker Face. Yeah. I think you would like Columbo.
Yeah, I like a lot of shows that are clearly drawing inspiration, so maybe I'll give it a shot. But although my folks tried rewatching it, and they said it had the, post-streaming service problem.
Well, Columbo is like, they're like little mini movies, and they're like 2 hours long. Is that the problem?
No, like, the they're all the same.
Oh, well,
which isn't an issue when you're watching them, once a week.
Well, you don't want to. You don't want to watch all of them at once. You can just watch one episode of Columbo and be done.
Yeah, which is, I don't know, it's weird because a lot of the Columbo Light shows, like, I would watch all of Poker Face in a row. Like, I would have no problem watching. We've been watching Elsbeth in a row. I don't know how they do it differently. I mean, I guess because they're writing with it in mind that you'll be watching these one after another, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
Anyway, so the guy is dead, the demon is vanquished, and...
Wait, but you're saying something about Elspeth.
Oh, yeah, well, part of that show is also Elsbeth being called in to be an internal investigations person, and then, spoilers for Elsbeth?
It's been long enough.
Yeah, season 2 is almost over. We can spoil season 1. It ends up the guy that she's investigating ends up not being guilty, and she apologizes to him, but, like, you were doing your job, and there was a lot of evidence.
He's so offended that she was investigating him.
And she was always upfront about it, too. The entire reason the character is there is to be oversight to the New York City Police Department, which could definitely use it.
Right? Anyway, speaking of oversight, after this guy has been shot and the demon has been vanquished...
The sisters book it.
Yeah, well, Phoebe's got a date to get to. She's got to get knocked up. And they totally breeze past this car and are like, oh, hey, did someone see what happened? Oh, well, no worries. And it's
Inspector Sheridan.
Who we are meant to know who that is, even though this is her first appearance.
Yeah. She got the whole incident on tape. She got the shooting and the demon sucking. She got it all on tape. And the rest of the episode really plays it, and this bit kind of too. I mean, we could just assume it was a random woman, but they keep talking like we're supposed to know who it is, and we don't.
You know what? Respect. I respect that they did that.
Also, interestingly enough, no 10,000 hours of opening shots of San Francisco. It goes from...
They have a lot of clips to get to, Max.
They have like 3 clips to get through. Okay, it's weird because they only play like 3 clips, but they're really long. So, also, I will give Phoebe credit. I kind of like her outfit.
This outfit that she's wearing the next morning.
Yes, the next morning she's wearing this like tank top with a logo on it, and then
it's a fleur-de-lis.
With a fleur-de-lis on it, and then detached gloves that also have detached long gloves that also have a fleur-de-lis on it. Paige, on the other hand, are those pajamas or is it an outfit?
Those are pajamas.
Okay, good. So you can never tell, and it just... I mean, yeah. So,
but it is the next morning. Phoebe has been disappointed on her date because this guy is not the father of her child, so she's moving on. She's just really, really focused on getting that baby. And...
You have so much time. Like... Chris is like 6 in your vision or whatever where you first saw being pregnant, and he hasn't been born yet. Like, even if you're waiting for, I want to date the guy for a year and then wait a year before getting married, you are still very much, you have a large pocket of time in which to get pregnant.
Plus, it's fate. Just relax and let it happen. So she's making a potion for her next date so she can have a premonition about whether this guy is the future father of her child.
Yeah,
and
she's been juicing up her premonitions with potions, which, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah. And Paige is like, personal gain much? And Phoebe's like, nah.
Well, Chris comes in, he's like, I've got a new theory on what turns Wyatt evil. And Paige is like, you've had a lot of theories. Have any of them panned out? And he's like, the whole reason I came back here was to stop Wyatt from being... Like, this is my entire purpose being here. Can you cut me a little slack?
Also, yeah, no, they didn't turn out. They were theories that we proved false. Now I have another theory. Like, do you know what's happening here, Paige?
And Paige is like, do we even get along in the future? Which... Why has Paige been such an asshole the past few episodes? It's so weird. Chris orbs out so we won't have to keep having this conversation.
And Sheila comes in. Sheila, Daryl's wife.
Daryl's wife, who is a character this season.
She's come to tell the sisters that Daryl has been arrested for murder.
She's dry eye sobbing. I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm just so distracted by how much this would not happen. He would not be in prison. He would maybe be on administrative leave while they investigated. I don't...
Well, the cleaners are doing it with magic.
I guess. Okay. I'll let it go then.
But I'm sorry. And it's nothing on the actress who's playing Sheila, because they don't give her anything to work with. But the fact that she comes in, she's like, boo-hoo! Daryl got arrested for murder. And you can see she's not crying. Like, it is the fakest crying ever. And I'm like, this is TV. You could put some drops in her eyes or something. Like, she's just kind of holding her hand in front of her face like this. It is such weird acting choices.
Everybody in this episode was like, let's just get the shot and move on.
She's like, I'm barely a character. I think they give me under a certain number of lines so I get paid as like a featured extra.
No, she does have more. Wait, actually, she doesn't in this episode. But I'm sure she. Wow, huh? No, I'm sure she's more than a featured extra. Still.
What is it? I mean, if
it's under 5, but
oh, okay. Because I was like, if it's under 10, then I think that she. But
no, I think she might be under 5 this episode.
And most episodes, I mean, she basically just shows up to kind of agree with Daryl. Anyway, the sisters go to visit Daryl in jail. He's already in his,
prison jumpsuit.
Yeah.
His orange jumpsuit. And he doesn't remember what happened. He does not remember the encounter.
And the girl, Paige is like, did you get like a concussion or something? And Phoebe's like, maybe something magic's going on. Of course something magic's going on. What the fuck are you talking about, Paige? Maybe you have a concussion. God. So...
Daryl's attorney shows up and is like...
You're going to jail. This guy's definitely going to jail.
And Phoebe's like, he's innocent. I was there. And the attorney's like, no, you weren't. And then he plays the tape for them.
Look at this. Look at this super HD video of Daryl shooting a guy apropos of nothing. And in the video, Daryl just kind of walks up to a guy and starts shooting him. Which, yeah. We go from that to the sisters confronting Inspector Sheridan and acting like she's an established character, which we talked about a little bit earlier, but it's weird. It's weird that they're acting like this is someone who we know. They're like, we know that you framed Daryl. And Inspector Sheridan's like, no, I just recorded him shooting someone. And Phoebe's like, we know that you have something against Daryl and against us.
And she's like, oh, right, the Halliwell sisters. The people who are somehow always there whenever Daryl kills someone. You know what? I mean, like...
She points out,
Inspector Sheridan is right.
Yeah, she's like, over the past 5 years, do you know how many of his suspects mysteriously vanished?
And how many times it's in relation to something they're doing? Like, from any objective standpoint of, like, investigative oversight, I'd be like, okay, they're running some sort of weird cartel, and Daryl is on the take to cover it up. That would be my assumption.
Speaking of assumptions, the sisters assume that the cleaners are responsible for this, which,
They are,
but I feel like I would do a little more research before orbing into the middle of a farmer's market and setting it on fire and orbiting objects around.
Well, they're doing this to get the attention of the cleaners.
Yeah.
And, by the way, speaking of people not caring about anything this episode, at one point they orb a coffee cart away, and the woman running it reacts before it happens, before the special effect happens. I know, this is so nitpicky considering what goes on in this episode, but it's just part of how nobody seems to care this episode. Nobody wants to do a second take. Nobody wants to redo the effect.
I also want to point out, Phoebe does a little, sweet rhyme that causes a cart to catch on fire. Fire was specifically the power her evil self had in her past life. I know that,
interesting.
Although I know that she's just doing a spell, which is different from using an active power. Although if you can bust it out in a couplet, it's not functionally that different from an act of power, right?
Yeah, let's put a pin in that too.
Yeah. So the cleaners show up and they freeze everything, and they're like, what the fuck are you people doing?
And they're like, hey, remember last time when we told you that if you didn't do what we said, we would just start being real public about magic? Well, that deal's still in effect. And the cleaners are like, yeah, no, this time we were told not to agree to that. So, no.
Yeah, they're like, we always clean up our own magical messes. Why were you messing with Daryl? And they're like, because you're really bad at it. Like, that lady straight up got you on tape.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly you're not good enough at cleaning up your own magical messes, and we have to step in.
And
they go. Is Gideon the cleaner's manager? Are they going to the cleaner's manager here?
They think they are. But they're not yet. Right? Because the cleaners are like, yeah, we were told not to bend to you this time by our bosses, the tribunal. And then it cuts immediately to the sisters at magic school and Gideon explaining to them what the tribunal is.
Yeah. The tribunal is as we mentioned at the start of the episode, it is a council of 2 elders and 2 upper-level demons that when good and evil need to collab on a project, they're the ones who kind of sort things out and make sure no one gets all blowed up or whatever.
We are on season 6. This is the first time we're hearing about this.
To be ambiguously fair, we have seen this sort of thing in the past, specifically when the Hollow was introduced as a plot device, which will get just driven into the ground in the future. But we know that good and evil set up to, like, they collabed on stopping the Hollow, and they had, like, an angel with a halo-ass halo and a demon guarding it at the time.
Uh-huh.
And the demon even stood up to the source, unsuccessfully, but to stop him from yoinking it. And then it immediately bit him in the ass. But so, like, I buy this being a thing that exists that maybe we haven't seen, because I'm assuming that there's a lot of, like, bureaucratic stuff the Charmed Ones just aren't aware of that good and evil have to collab on all the time.
Yeah, I guess so.
Although, this should make more of a comeback, especially when we're dealing with the avatars. Maybe it does. Maybe the avatars are just so super boring that they made me forget that the tribunal was a thing here.
There you go. You got cleaned.
Okay. I love this so much. The guy who plays Gideon teleports them all to this, like, dark room with a glowing glass floor circle thing, and then he incants an incantation to summon the tribunal, and the guy who plays Gideon is making the goofiest facial expression. I get it, he's intoning, and there's a lot of lip work, but just...
Okay, you know how I've said everybody is just not feeling it this week?
Yeah.
Gideon is feeling all of it!
Okay.
He is doing the most.
The thing is, we've talked before about how Gideon is the most complex villain Charmed ever did. A lot of that is down to the actor. A lot of this guy's stuff is bad. Like, he talks almost exclusively in inspirational wizard quotes.
Uh-huh.
But this dude is putting his entire ass into this role. Speaking of putting your entire ass into a role, the tribunal appears and they summon the prosecutor who, as we established earlier on, is Barbas, and I love him so much. Speaking of people who are constantly tilting to one side.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Barbas is constantly at an angle. He's got his weird little accent. I love him so much.
So, yes, Barbas shows up. He's going to prosecute the case, and...
How can we trust him? He's a demon. You don't have to trust him.
Yeah, it's an adversarial system, girls. Also, they're like, we vanquished you. And he's like, yeah, to hell. And then...
How do you think this... I mean... Also, you vanquished him like 3 times at this point. Clearly, hell is not that big of a thing for Barbas.
It's not that hard to get out of.
Yeah, I mean, the fucking, the eyesight stealing guys. The Grimlocks do it all the time, and the Grimlocks suck. Daryl and Leo, pre-Elder Leo, took them out once. Like, it's honestly not that hard to get out of hell.
Anyway, so Barbas petitions the court, and they grant him that they are going to accelerate things. So now we just assume that Daryl's trial has already happened. He's been found guilty. All of his appeals have gone through, and he's going to be executed in 24 hours unless the cleaners rescind what they did. So now we've got a ticking clock. And also, we have a reason for you and I, Max, to not be like, why aren't they just fighting this in human court?
Yes.
Like, they took that away from us, and you know what? Good for them. Good for them.
I mean, Barbas points out, he's like, look, I don't want to give them a way to weasel out of the consequences for this, so we're just going to accelerate everything so they can't just fuck up a jury trial with magic or whatever. Mm-hmm. We're just going to skip straight to the consequences so they can't weasel their way out of this one.
Yeah.
And Gideon's like, maybe we shouldn't do that, and the council's like, no, that sounds cool.
I'll allow it.
Yes, I'm going to allow this. There's going to be a lot of that in this episode.
Yup. Phoebe's still pissed off that Barbas is going to get to be the prosecutor. And when she's yelling about it, she walks into the glowing circle. And we see
Daryl and Sheila sitting in Daryl's jail cell. She's like crying and he's comforting her. And the warden comes in. He's like, the governor denied your stay of execution. They're going to, shoot you in the front yard or whatever. Electric chair, I think.
This episode, I think it was probably lethal injection. This episode made Max look up whether or not California had lethal injection during the year this episode aired.
Whether they did executions, which they did, apparently. I was really shocked by that. But yeah, California, executions are still a thing in California. They haven't done one in a really long time. Governor Newsom did a stay of execution order that's I think still in place since I think 2009. But during this period of history, the state of California was executing people, which is really weird, right? Like, you think of California as such a liberal state. It's weird that they still have the death penalty on the books.
It is weird. So Phoebe is still arguing that Barbas shouldn't even be allowed to do this, and
she steps into the fucking circle again, and we get a flashback.
Our first clip in this clip show.
Yes.
How far into the episode are we?
We are, let's see, we are 15 minutes into the episode, and we've just got our first clip. They sprung a clip show on us, and it's her first encounter with Barbas from all the way back in season, I'm going to say 1? I think season 1. But it's fantastic.
It's season 1, episode 13, From Fear to Eternity.
He really should have just shown up on the 13th episode of every season.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's the whole thing where she's like, you can't kill me. My greatest fear is elevators, and there's no elevators around here. And Barbas is like, bullshit. You've never been afraid of elevators. Your biggest fear is losing a sister, and that's about to happen to you. And then in, the present timeline, in the present non-flashback courtroom, Barbas is like, it's kind of weird that when Prue died, you didn't die from it, because, I assumed that had I used my power on you then successfully, you would have died from, I don't know, grief or whatever, but guess you could have changed it as a person in between our first encounter and now, huh?
Yeah,
It sure seems like your attitude towards witchcraft has changed since the first season of this show.
Yup. And also sisterhood.
Yes.
Sisterhood is somehow a lot less important now that Brad Kearns is running the show. So Gideon gets up to give his defense of the sisters and talks about how basically they have hidden magic for 6 years, despite honestly being really bad at exposing it. They've managed to cover their asses after exposing them for 6 years.
I love how he's like, I'm going to show you all the examples of the Charmed Ones being good at concealing magic. And then it smash cuts to Piper telling Leo that he has to work with Chris to find out what's going on, despite the fact that Chris doesn't like him.
Yeah, and he won't call for Chris. He makes Piper call for Chris.
Because he knows that Chris won't come if Leo calls, but he'll come if his mom calls. And honestly, I kind of love it. Like, Chris is totally Mama's Boy by Chromeo in this episode.
Chris is mad that his dad was never around, even though this Leo is a dad to a Chris who hasn't even been born yet. Like, let him fuck it up first. Anyway, back in Gideon's defense, he's showing scenes from Womb Raider.
Yeah, this is also as part of Gideon's thing for why they shouldn't kill Daryl. Because, you know, he's defending the sisters, but he's also defending Daryl. Like, he's like, look, see, the sisters cleaned up their murder of Cole, and Daryl helped them so that no one would think magic was involved.
I just want to point out here that a big part of Gideon's defense is that Daryl helped cover up magic, but Daryl is himself a mortal who knows about the existence of magic. Like, they've already breached the masquerade by bringing Daryl in.
So Barbas is like, neat. Can we keep playing that hologram for a little bit longer? And the hologram, the clip keeps playing. Paige goes over to Phoebe and she's like, sucks we had to kill your demon husband. And Phoebe's like, yeah, it sure does suck. You asshole! And punches her in the face. And Phoebe's cringing, and Barbas is like, A, that was fun to watch, but B, my greater point in showing you that is that the Charmed Ones fall under demonic influence all the time, and then they use magic really, really publicly. Here's a clip of her under the influence of her demonic fetus setting a policeman's wastebasket on fire. And
okay, this is what I'm saying though, right? The demon here is making the argument that the Charmed Ones cannot be trusted with magic because they keep exposing it when demons possess them. Like, maybe we should go to the source, pun intended, and cut out demons.
Yeah. And then he shows the clip of the episode where Prue marries a warlock, thus changing the morality of all of the sisters, because if the oldest sister marries an evil person,
oh my God,
then the rest of them change morality. But the clip where Piper turns her wedding planner into a pig in a blanket, I love how Barbas doesn't really set up the clip at all. He's like, that's not the only example of them doing evil stuff. And then he plays it, and Gideon's like, objection, they were under demonic influence, and then they undid it and brainwashed and like mind wiped the people they did the stuff to, so no harm, no foul. They did clean up after this mess.
But also, like, this was a mess that the sisters cleaned up that demons caused. Like, I cannot emphasize this enough. And I know that Barbas is a demon. This is what demons do. But this is what I was saying at the top, right? This is like arguing with a reply guy.
So, Chris and Leo are in the, the cliffs in hell, like the fiery pit in hell where they, punish people.
Uh-huh.
That one set that they have. And Chris is torturing a demon for information. Apparently, Barbas and him were in
cahoots.
I was going to say one of the lower parts of hell where you can't normally just walk right out.
Oh, yeah.
And they were using phantasms to something get them out of hell full time.
Okay, so they were using phantasms to expose the sisters, so the sisters would go on trial because Barbas made a deal with the tribunal, with the demon part of the tribunal, that he would get out of hell if he got the Charmed Ones to stop existing, which is a huge conflict of interest for the tribunal. Just gonna throw that out there.
I'm curious as to why Barbas was working with this dude, Finks, because it really seems like Finks was not bringing anything to the table. Although, good.
I assume that he's like the one who can control phantasms or something.
Yeah.
Or like he knows where they hang out. I also want to point out that we literally just came from a scene where Barbas was arguing that if the Charmed Ones were possessed, they were still responsible for what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to save them because events were manipulated by demons. But that's what happened when they were possessed. Like, it either they're responsible for demons' behaviors or they are not.
Yep, that's... So, Chris is dangling this guy over the pit. The guy's, telling them basically what we just said. Barbas has set the whole thing up, as a way to get out of hell and, bonus, get his revenge on the sisters for murdering him like 5 times at this point. Chris is like, cool, we have this guy telling us the whole thing. We'll just bring him up to the trial and, he'll tell them, he'll tell them the story and then they'll have to let the sisters off. And Leo's like, no, his testimony can't be trusted. He's a demon. The prosecutor in this trial is a demon, and half of the jury / judges...
The tribunal.
Half of the tribunal is also demons. Why would this not work? Also, magic exists. Like, Leo, they'll never believe him. He's a demon. You know spells that can make people tell the truth, even if they're demons. But it doesn't matter because Chris accidentally drops the guy back into hell, and therefore they can't get him anymore, even though they got him out of hell in the first place.
I guess they sent him to super hell.
I'm just saying, Phoebe managed to get to super hell pretty easily, so why can't Leo? He's an elder. Or Chris. I mean, I know he's not a charmed one, but Phoebe seems incapable of doing pretty basic spells by herself. She needed the power of 3 to summon a ghost. Grams could summon ghosts.
Okay,
Patty was barely competent as a witch and could summon ghosts.
These kinds of trial episodes are always like rife with issues. I recall on our Farscape podcast that trial episode was, I think, the worst episode of Farscape we dealt with.
Oh my god. Oh, I don't know. Revenging Angel exists.
Yeah.
But no, the trial episode was really bad. It's a planet where everything runs off laws. Wow, you mean like every society ever?
Okay, but this becomes even more messy when we're talking about essentially demons and angels. Like, what are we doing here?
But yeah, Leo's like, I'm very disappointed in, you young man, for dropping that demon that I wasn't going to use for anything. What? Chris is also pissed at Leo for making him drop Finks, which I don't really think that was on Leo. I think that was on you, dude. Also, you're telekinetic and you kind of just watched him fall down. Like, if you really wanted to stop him, you probably could have. Also, you could just go back and get him.
Doesn't matter.
So, this montage is a really Gideon setting up another them cleaning up after themselves montage, which is basically just 2 clips of them using the,
Let the object of objection.
Yeah, the go-to utility spell. Which, yeah. Honestly, they could have done a lot more of that because they use that spell a lot. But they didn't.
Yeah. I do like that Gideon's main defense against the Charmed Ones is like, hey, we can just magic wipe people's minds, right? Like, what are we doing here? Let's all go home.
Yeah, like, we all have amnesia powers. What's the big deal?
Oh, and then Barbas shows a clip from Witches in Tights.
Okay, Barbas's thing, is that the Charmed Ones just don't cause their own magical mayhaps through magic or whatever, but that they risk exposure by breaking up with Cole and also making him the Mega Satan.
Barbas shows a bunch of clips of Chris doing... Okay, because you'll remember in Witches in Tights, Phoebe is threatening the landlord, and then Cole eventually just killed that landlord. And then Barbas shows a bunch of other clips of when Cole was evil, him doing a bunch of stuff, and he's like, this is your fault, Phoebe! Again, the Charmed Ones, they have to answer for what demons do. They have to answer for what men do when they break their heart. And look, this is what I said when we were watching the episode. Just to, like, put it all out there. The Charmed Ones are responsible for their behavior even when they are possessed or under magical influence. And Cole is not responsible for his behavior because Phoebe broke up with him.
Yep. In fact, Phoebe is responsible for his behavior because she's the one who broke up with him.
This all feels like so real. Like, this whole episode is what it feels like to be a woman on the internet.
They show the whole clip, by the way. The entire bit where Phoebe is holding the corrupt landlord over the edge of the building.
I don't know, they were really excited about that for some reason. And I just want to remind everybody that in the episode where we went to the future, where we saw Chris in the future, when we saw the stuff on display in the Halliwell Museum, one of the things on display was the Witches in Tights costumes. Like, I think they just really loved that episode over at Charmed Central.
Also, the next clip that Barbas, he says, and lastly, which is a weird thing to say, and lastly, where were the Charmed Ones to clean up this mess? And they showed that bit where those guys break into a bar where Cole's drinking and shoot everyone, and then they try to shoot Cole, but Cole can't die because he's Mega Satan, and he murders the shit out of the guys with the guns. And it's like, technically that mess didn't really need cleaning
Cole
up now,
cleaned
did
that
it?
mess by killing everyone.
Yeah, like...
Which is what you're suggesting you do to Daryl, so... Clearly you think killing people is a solution for cleaning, so...
Phoebe stands up and rightly points out, although I guess it's kind of the wrong thing to point out because they're on trial for exposing magic, but this was a clip in which no magic was exposed whatsoever. I guess...
This is what happens when you argue with these guys online. They try to make you argue something else.
Which Phoebe does. She's like, why are we responsible for that? We weren't even there. And Barbas is like, but you broke Cole's heart, and he wouldn't have been sadly drinking in that bar. And all of those people would have died anyway, except the guys with the guns, I guess. I would listen to Billy Drago read a phone book, honestly, though. He's saying hot garbage. It's all nonsense. He's doing that thing that Regina Bookman did in 30 Rock, where she just uses a bunch of buzzwords over and over again, and people are just so swept up in her tone of voice that they don't realize that what she's saying doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Remember when that was going to be a plot, and then they just dropped it?
Yes. Oh, man. I just...
But yeah, Barbas's whole thing is like, look, this goes deeper than just needing to kill Daryl, which, yes, we do need to kill Daryl, but also I feel like the Charmed Ones should be disbarred from magic because they suck at it and they make everyone's lives worse.
And this is what I was talking about, right? Maybe good and evil shouldn't both get to weigh in on the people who are on the forefront of the battle against evil.
Also, I'm aware that this isn't existing in any actual legal framework, but it feels weird to change the point of a trial midway through it.
Yeah.
Like this was specifically about, them wanting Daryl to not be killed to keep magic a secret. And now it suddenly pivoted into being about, like, do the Charmed Ones do too much damage and therefore need their powers stripped? I mean, I would bring up what happened in the last episode with the cleaners, the thing with the dragon. I would probably bring that up again if I was Barbas, but... So, meanwhile, Chris is trying to work... Well, Leo is trying to work through Chris's daddy issues and...
Yeah, Leo's like, why don't you love me? And Chris is like, 'cause you were never around, Dad. And Leo's like, you're not even born yet. Let me be a terrible father first, and then you can hate me.
So, it's kind of fun because Barbas keeps saying, like, case closed, and then keeps on talking. Like, he's calling a witness, because I guess that's something they can do now. And Gideon's like, do you want me to do something? And Phoebe's like, I think our record stands for ourselves. And Gideon just kind of, he's like, okay, Barbas, just go on. And, Barbas calls one of the cleaners. And this is such a weird question. Barbas is like, let me ask you, the cleaner, is Lieutenant Morris the first policeman to die in the line of duty protecting the Charmed Ones? Why specifically policeman? If you're arguing that the Charmed Ones are a net negative, why wouldn't you just cover all of the innocents they killed through incompetence?
It's weird. Somebody in the writer's room was like, man, we kill a lot of cops on this show. And then they were like, let's do a little montage of it. If this was a traditional clip show, it would be like, man, we sure have killed a lot of cops in our day. And then we, of course, see the clip of Andy dying.
They have to cut around Prue so much in a lot of these clips. Like, they have it shot at such a weird angle where you only see Phoebe and Piper rushing into the room where Andy's dead, deceased corpses. And then they bring up Inspector Reese, which is a weird pull. He was the guy who was investigating Cole, who got killed by those, like, memory vampires.
Right.
Which, also, again, it was an exposure issue that got taken care of.
Uh-huh.
Which, if you'll remember, was the original point of this trial. But Inspector Reese weirdly comes back later, too, when a necromancer, but not the one Grams was dating, is bringing back people the Charmed Ones have lost as zombies in order to, freak them out or whatever. And for some reason, Inspector Reese is one of them, I'm pretty sure. Even though, like, I feel like there's a lot higher profile people who died that they should bring back.
I guess I have to assume that's the actor they could get.
Yeah, but, like, maybe don't make that the premise of an episode then.
Anyway, best for last. Now we have the last law enforcement officer who died on their watch, and that is Bruce Campbell as Agent Jackman, the witch hunter. We have drifted so far outside of relevance here, because, yeah, technically he was a cop, but he was also literally a witch hunter who was trying to burn them at the stake. Like, at what point did they fail when he died?
Yeah, and, like, again, Cole killed him. Like, they did a shitty job covering it up. They made it look like he shot himself from 13 feet away.
Cole killed him by magically moving him in front of his own bullet that he had fired. Like, can't get much more self-defense than that, I gotta say.
And Paige brings it up. Paige is like, that clip's out of context. He was a witch hunter who was trying to murder us. And Barbas literally says, context doesn't matter.
He was a witch hunter. So he literally has nothing to do with the context of exposing magic. He's not an innocent who needed protecting that they failed. Why are we even... Not that I should complain about getting to see Bruce Campbell again, but why are we looking at Bruce Campbell again?
Yeah.
What is this?
I mean, if anything, you know what I would bring up if I was Barbas? I would bring up granted, he was a criminal and therefore okay to murder by the logic of Charmed, but the escaped criminal that they disguised to look like Chris so that so that the demonic bounty hunters who were after him would just kill the criminal and stop hunting Chris. That's the sort of thing that, you should ding their records.
Okay, listen, I feel like my head is about to explode, and so I just want to clarify something really quick.
Okay.
All of this ranting, all of this, what is happening, what are we doing here, why are we watching these clips, I just want to make sure that I am super clear that I am not criticizing the writing. I am criticizing the characters. Because I fully believe that these characters are this incompetent. The writing has made me believe that.
Yes. And honestly, he has kind of a Jeff Winger thing going on here, Barbas does.
Yeah.
Like, he's not creating a compelling or convincing case, but he is very good at talking.
So either there is no God, or I am God. Booyah!
Also, they're going to be working together later this season, so I feel like I can mention it now. I love the dynamic that Barbas and Gideon have here. I 100%, like, I ship it, and I ship pretty easily, as those of you who follow me on social media know. I'm going to post some clips of the two of them talking together later, because it's fantastic. Billy Drago is all over the dude who plays Gideon. Like, Old Man Yowie fans, come and get it. This is for you.
You're not old, but yeah.
No, well, I've heard Old Man Yowie said for people who are, like, in their 20s. People clearly, like... And Barbas is like, no further questions, and blorps him away. And then he turns to Gideon and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, did you want to ask him something? It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And Barbas is like, yeah, so... we should kind of remove the problem of the charmed woods. He doesn't bring this up, but I think it would be an interesting point to bring up here. If the tribunal, I mean, I know they're allegedly about concealing magic, but if this is supposed to be a balance thing, then honestly, there is a pretty good argument for removing the charmed ones.
Because they killed the source?
Yeah. So if, which I know it's not, but if the point of this was preserving a balance between good and evil, there'd be an argument there.
Okay, that's interesting.
But that's not what this is about. But what is this about anyway? This was supposed to be about whether or not they should kill Daryl.
What is time?
So the tribunal blorps away, and they're going to come back with the verdict, which, I'm sorry, Gideon did a really shitty job defending them. Although, in his defense, he kept on being like, should I call witnesses or something? You know, nah, our reputation's good enough, you know?
We're the charmed ones. We're basically the charmings in this universe. We don't face consequences.
So, Leo and Chris blorp in after the tribunal goes to triabulate, and they're like, so Barbas set this up as part of his scheme to escape hell, and, like, he was responsible for the phantasm thing. So, and the whole reason Inspector Sheridan was in the right place at the right time to record blah, 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 is because she was possessed by a phantasm.
Okay, so at the beginning of this episode, I'm taking out that pin. At the beginning of this episode, we were told that phantasms only possessed people who were already evil. So she was evil?
Apparently, and she will be an antagonist for the rest of this season, and I think part of next season.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
And she is both... You know what? I buy it. She's pretty evil. She's not great at her job, which is not an evil thing, but there's just a bit where she runs into a room with her gun drawn, apropos of basically nothing. That's not what you should do. That's bad policing, and so, not speaking of bad policing, Piper blorps into jail, and she's like, okay, Daryl, I'm gonna blorp you out of here. Like, I haven't done anything this episode yet because I'm heavily pregnant, but I can come in here and have the one real emotional moment. Daryl, let's get you out of here. And Daryl's like, no, I killed a guy and I deserve to face consequences for it. And Piper's like, you only killed a guy because of dumb magic bullshit. And he's like, according to you, I just remember shooting a guy. Like, I deserve to be here, and I can't use magic to weasel my way out of it. And Piper gets blorped to the trial thing because someone said the magic words, weasel out of it.
Poor Daryl. He puts up with so much shit from them.
They killed him and stole his soul at the beginning of this season.
Oh. Seriously. Poor Daryl.
So, the tribunal has decided that, yeah, it's time for Daryl to die.
Yeah, they decided that they're not going to take away the sister's powers, but they are going to kill Daryl, and they'll just call it even, or whatever.
Yeah. So, they drag Daryl away from a dry, sobbing Sheila, who is... God, they did not give this actress good crying directions. She keeps putting her hand on her forehead and then over her mouth and then on her forehead and then over her mouth. And I get it, there's kind of a limited range of things you can do to conceal the fact that you're not actually crying. But, like, maybe don't have her as a central figure in the episode. And I think you're right. I think she does have less than 5 lines in this episode.
She does. All right, so...
Also, Gideon has had to physically restrain Phoebe from punching Barbas in the face multiple times, which does not really speak well to her.
I mean, the whole thing is about their lack of control, right? Like, that's why they're exposing magic.
Yeah.
So, the sisters are like, you know what? If you kill Daryl, fuck all y'all. We're out of here.
Yeah, we're all done. We're turning in our charmed badges.
The tribunal's like, but then we would erase your memories. You wouldn't know about any of this. We would erase everything you've done. And they're like, yeah, do it, because you know what, fuck all of this.
Why would they erase all of their memories of this? That doesn't make any sense. You can just take their powers away, right? Like,
because then they wouldn't be witches and they'd have to clean them by making them not know magic exists.
So Daryl is being executed, and Chris and Leo orb-in Inspector Sheridan, and Barbas is like, I'm calling foul. They're bringing a mortal into a magic thing, and we're not supposed to do that.
And they're like, I'm sorry, Barbas, are there rules now? Are there rules to this now? Because no, clearly not.
And Chris just physically throws Inspector Sheridan onto the, like, memory player, and it shows her getting possessed by a phantasm, and the phantasm is like, by the way, Barbas did this.
Okay, but again... that shouldn't matter based on the rules that we've already seen.
Yeah, like, if you did think that they were responsible for, like...
what Cole did,
yeah. Why does it matter? I love how fed up Barbas is with this, though. Leo throws the potion to get the phantasm out of someone at Inspector Sheridan, and then Chris just uses the wand to suck up the phantasm. And the tribunal's like, oh, I guess this changes things for some reason. Like, they ask him, what do you have to say for yourself, Barbas? And he's like, I'm evil. What?
Barbas is like, I'm sorry, can I just move the goalposts one more time? Y'all go save Daryl. You're not going to take away the powers, whatever. But let me just move the goalposts one more time and say, Phoebe's been using magic for personal gain.
Oh my god.
And the tribunal's like, all right, you are technically correct.
Yeah, Daryl's about to be executed, but then, he closes his eyes as the lethal injection is about to go into his vein. Like, the needle's in his arm. We see the liquid moving. He closes his eyes, and then he opens them, and he's back at the police station, and, what's her face?
Cheryl.
And Cheryl's there for date night, and Inspector Sheridan walks by all sexy, and she's like, I did a full thing of makeup for work today. I guess that's
put on makeup for work. Most women do.
I guess it's a normal thing. It seems weird to be glammed up to be a police detective, but I guess you do that. One of the fun things about Law and Order SVU is you can see Mariska Hargitay go from the first 3 seasons where she has minimal makeup and she looked, that thing that Jenna Fisher did in The Office where she did her makeup and she's like, I only gave myself as much time as Pam would have.
Uh-huh.
And then in later seasons she just had full makeup all the time.
Yes.
You can see them doing that with Olivia too, where she's really plain and kind of under, the first few seasons, and then they're like, we're just gonna make her hot.
Poor Daryl though.
Yeah, because he has all the memories, and the cleaner shows up in the room, and he's like, "Hi, just reminding you that we can kill you at literally any time, so don't expose anything." We already know this is not brought up. Daryl told Sheila about magic.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if you're trying to get the sisters for exposure, maybe that.
I mean, Daryl shouldn't even know. Okay, I do want to say, because I feel like people will point it out otherwise, the cleaner does a little wave that I think is supposed to be him taking away Daryl's memories.
No, Daryl remembers this.
Oh.
Sorry, this comes back, like, next episode.
Poor Daryl!
Yeah. Yeah, Daryl has the memory of almost dying.
Oh. Anyway, Phoebe's been using her power for personal gain, so she...
Barbas just throws it in at the last second.
And the tribunal's like, okay, fine, we'll take away Phoebe's...
active powers.
Yeah, that'll be a big thing, right? And then Barbas is like, all right, a win's a win!
Okay, it's fantastic because they're like, okay, we're taking away Phoebe's powers. And Paige is like, then how are we supposed to do our job? And they're like, no, we're just taking away her active powers. She can still use the power of 3. She can still cast spells. She just can't use her empathy or her premonitions. And then one of the demon members of the tribunal's like, or her levitation.
And they're like, oh, right, Phoebe can levitate.
Well, it's clearly a shot at the levitation, which is fair.
Oh. Yeah.
So everyone blorps out except for Barbas and Gideon. And Barbas is like, oh, I'm not in hell, so I guess I'm back. And he gives Gideon a little twirl. It's fantastic. I love it. I love it so much.
He flips out his long coat when he twirls.
Yeah. Billy Drago's scene work is so good. That man knows how to command a presence on set.
I mean, also, Barbas and Gideon are obviously exes who are still horny for each other.
I mean, the way they play off each other, Barbas goes over and he does the little fear scan on Gideon, and he's leaning into, that spot between your neck and your shoulder, the kind of clavicle area where you rest your head. He leans and he rests his head against Gideon's clavicle, and he's like, I know that you're after Piper's son. I know your biggest fear is what Piper's son is going to do. And then he flames out and Gideon's just left standing there awkwardly alone in the circle, and it's so good.
Oh.
Okay, so also weird thing, the credits, I don't feel like I've ever seen this. When they're listing the people in the episode, they said appearing in clip form, and then they listed Julian McMahon.
Yeah, because you have to credit people.
Yeah, you have to credit people, but I feel like I've never seen the in clip form before.
Huh.
As like a, not disclaimer, but as like an addendum thing, which I guess calling them like special guest stars would be misleading.
Yeah. I haven't thought about that, but yeah, that is... Huh.
But it's so weird because this is a clip show, something which our audience might not be familiar with if they're young enough.
Oh, man.
But it's so...
It's barely a clip show.
Yeah, and which is weird because they do play long stretches of clips, but I really like this episode, and normally clip shows are the worst, including the therapy episode, which was also a clip show that they did earlier, in Charmed.
Yeah. You know what? Talking about it, I did. I really enjoyed this episode. That's why I wanted to clarify. I'm like, as I'm being critical, understand that I'm criticizing the characters and not the writing, because I'm thoroughly enjoying how terrible these characters are at their jobs. I usually hate it when people say you have one job, because we all have many, many jobs that we are forced to do, but...
I mean, look how many jobs Barbas had over the course of this one trial.
Right. In this case, though, I feel like the elders have one job. The tribunal has one job. Everyone stop being bad at your job.
Barbas changed what he was prosecuting the Charmed ones for like 4 times over the course of the trial.
But honestly, Barbas, he felt so much like an internet guy who's like, if women want to be equal, then why don't they get drafted? And it's like, well, who set that system up?
Also, the draft hasn't existed for like 50 years at this point.
Of course. But also, who set that up?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
Hey, could women have credit cards? I'm sorry, I ironically interrupted you during this.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, the patriarchy hurts lots of people. Just, anyway. But I feel like I didn't even realize how accurate my comparison of this to that TikTok guy was at the beginning. But it was. It's like... I get so riled up watching his skits, and I watch them all every time because I love to hate it. Love to hate it.
Also, it helps that Barbas is very fun to watch.
He is.
He just, his way of speaking, and I'm not even going to try to imitate the accent. I don't know what the deal is with the way he speaks. It's fantastic.
I know, I've called him a reply guy like 10 times, but let's be honest, he's what reply guys wish they were.
Yeah. All right, so much like the Charmed ones, we have our own power of 3. The first power in our pack is Premonition, who in this episode is, was, or will become famous. I have one for this. Do you?
Oh, you go first. Go ahead.
Okay, so mine is the guy who played Finks, who is Esteban Powell, who you might remember from being one of the younger students in, I think, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Uh-huh.
Or Dazed and Confused. No, Dazed and Confused. He's one of the younger kids in Dazed and Confused. I know him from being one of the Mountain Dew dudes. I completely forgot that I used to do this until we watched this episode. But back when I was in, like, middle school or high school, I would choose actors from commercials, and I would follow their careers, I think because I saw something about Sarah Michelle Gellar being in, like, a Burger King commercial as a kid.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I bet I could pick up on people who are going to be famous in other stuff later by paying attention to who's in commercials now. And that never panned out. None of the people I chose ever. I saw
Wait, this guy went on to be on an episode of Charmed where he was dangled over a lava pit by Chris.
Yeah. In fact, I think his career kind of got actively worse. He was a major character in, I think, Dazed and Confused. I saw it a while ago, and I do not remember any of it, but yeah, no, that's Esteban Powell, whose name I still remember for no reason. The dude was in, like, 3 Mountain Dew commercials, a movie, and Charmed. And I still remember his name decades later. That's a place in my brain I could be using for math, but nope. Sorry, who did you have? You.
One of the tribunal members was Ken Page, who's a big Broadway guy. So he was Old Deuteronomy in Cats.
Oh.
But and in the filmed production of it that, like, everybody watched in high school.
Yeah.
But I think if we're not talking about Broadway, the thing he probably is most known for is voicing Oogie Boogie in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh. I know they're kind of doing this more now, but the animation should really get more Broadway people to be in it. Like, Christian Borles is finally getting his...
Oh, his due?
Yeah, they put him in that show about hell, which the youth like, that seems... We watched one episode of it, and I'm like, oh god, this is like DeviantArt, the show. The one about the hotel.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. It was just, for a second, I forgot the name of it. Has Been Hotel.
Has Been Hotel, which, if you like it, that's totally cool. It's something I definitely would have been into when I was younger. Which is my same thing with...
Night Vale?
With Night Vale. Like, if I listened to Night Vale in high school, I would have been the biggest fan of it.
I can't believe you don't love Welcome to Night Vale, which I love. It even has our format.
Yeah.
It's Welcome to Night Vale.
And I've listened to like 10 episodes and I saw the live show with you. It just never clicked for me.
The first live show, The Librarians, was one of the best theatrical experiences I've ever had. It was amazing. I don't.
So that'll take us to the...
When I'm depressed, I listen to Welcome to Night Vale. It makes me feel better. Fills me with, like, a sense of peace.
That American Dad did that.
American Dad does that, too. The weird episodes of American Dad.
Gold Top Nuts. Watch Gold Top Nuts. It's so good.
Gold Top Nuts, you know when they're like, okay, if the world's going to end in 20 minutes and you can watch one television show, what would it be? Like, what do you want to go out on? For me, it's going to be Gold Top Nuts.
For me, it's probably Hawk and Chick.
Okay.
Bob's Burgers, but I'm aware
you
that
had to choose a sentimental one.
Well, yeah. I was about to say, I'm aware that that's aggressively a dad thing. Mm. So that'll take us to the second power in our pack, Time Freeze, what specifically dated this episode. The death penalty being an active thing in California.
I was going to say the giant-ass camcorder that Inspector Sheridan was videotaping them with.
Oh, yes, the giant-ass camcorder.
Also, you know what? As long as we're calling out the camcorder, as long as I'm calling out the camcorder, the cleaners should really be, like, counting their blessings right now that they lived 20 years ago and not now when everyone has a camera in their hand all the time. And I almost feel like I want to call that as a time freeze, right? How many times would the sisters have been caught on camera?
That actually, there's a webcomic I've been rereading recently that I was very into in middle school, and then I kind of fell off it, and then I went back to it. El Gunas Shive, if you're curious. But a major plot point in it, spoilers, I think it happened like 10 years ago in this webcomic that's been running since I was in middle school. But one of the things that happens in it is that magic is kind of sentient, and its whole thing is that when enough people become aware of it, it resets to conceal itself. Mm-hmm. And it gets convinced not to reset by one of the characters pointing out that everyone has cell phone cameras now, so exposure is more or less inevitable, and it can't keep doing this and expect it to work anymore.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. All right, and that will bring us to the last, the last segment. Telekinesis. What, if anything, genuinely moved you?
I mean, I know I should have been moved by Holly Marie Combs' like very dramatic acting when Daryl was gonna die, but I couldn't get there.
I bought it. I mean,
oh no, I bought it. She's great. I was just like,
I mean, I'm gonna give Dorian Gregory some credit. Like the scene where he tells Piper that he can't weasel his way out of it was some seriously good acting for someone who's been phoning it in since, let's be honest, basically season 1.
Yeah, you know what? Dorian Gregory did a really good job in all of his scenes post Cold Open. Yeah. I mean, that was fine too, but like he really did have to bring the drama of being a guy who thinks he killed someone and then forgot it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Also, I loved Barbas, and I loved Barbas's interactions with Gideon. The two of them have such great natural chemistry. I'm not saying that you need to see them, you know, as exes or, you know, people who are about to make out. You could just see it as them having this really cool dynamic, which they do, which is why you want to see them make out, right?
Right?
But, yeah.
And then they kissed!
Yeah, Gideon and Barbas play off each other so well, and I think it's really helpful by having two guys who are, like, really committed to acting.
And it stands out so much in these later seasons.
Yeah.
Alright, so I think that does it for now.
Yeah, next episode is going to be Season 6, Episode 20, A Wrong Day's Journey into Right.
You can have one. You can change one word. You can't change two.
Paige conjures Mr. Right for stress relief, but accidentally releases his evil twin, Mr. Wrong.
Didn't Phoebe just get her powers taken away for personal gain?
Yes, also we already did the create a magic man for sex plot this season.
No, I mean, I think she's bringing back the same magic man.
Huh.
Yeah.
We'll need to look that up when
it happens.
Yeah.
Alright, so I think that does it for this week.
Yes, I think that will about do it for this week.
Our show is partially listener supported. If you want to be one of those supporters, you should head over to our website, www.welcometotelevision.net, and click on our Patreon link. We'd like to thank our current $5 and above patrons, Beryl, Patricia, Rosa, Ryan, Maricruz, Benjamin, Kate, Jen, Dan, Anthony, Daniel, and Hippolyta.
If you'd like to support the show in other ways, you could always rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Helps other people find the show.
If you want to talk about this episode or any episode of any television show, you can email us at ilovetelevisionzines@gmail.com, or you can find us on Blue Sky at Welcome to Television.
So until next time, I'm Max.
And I'm Tina.
And this has been Welcome to Halliwell Manor.
Bong.
Which noise?